It's here. After a full month of international football that's been filled with drama, incredible goals, and more upsets than you could have imagined, we finally get to take in the third place playoff. Oh, and of course, the World Cup final as well. Hey, what's up? My name is Adrian, and this is Rabona TV. Another video from World Cup Daily before I get lost in the Canadian wilderness for 2 days before the World Cup final. First off, I wanted to say thanks to everyone who has been watching World Cup Daily. And second, I won't be bothering with a third place playoff preview in this video because honestly, those matches are so contrived. Nobody wants to play for third place after just going through the heartbreak of missing out on the final. And given that teams often give their substitutes a crack at some playing time, it makes it even more difficult to preview. Will they play Lukaku? Will they play Batshuayi? Will they play Januzaj, etc.? It makes it too difficult. So let's have a quick chat about the final itself. And I want to hear your thoughts as well, so definitely comment. When I look back on the tournaments that both of these teams have had, I'd say that we have some very worthy finalists. Perhaps you could make cases for Brazil or Belgium being there as well, but with Croatia and France, I think that they are deserving, but in two very different ways. Or at least they made the final in two very different ways. If we're talking about France, they're the international power, the former champion, and their squad is absolutely stacked with talent. When your bench boasts players like Ousmane Dembele, Tolisso, Lamar, Rami, Fekir, Thauvin, etc., then you must be doing pretty well in the talent category. For Croatia, while their starting lineup isn't as talented or perhaps as glamorous as the French starting 11, they more than make up for that in heart and graft. This is a team that went to 120 minutes in 3 consecutive matches, coming out on top in every single one. Obviously, they're in the final. That takes not only nerves of steel and determination, but stamina. Not your average, oh, I can run a long time, physical type of stamina, but mental stamina as well. If there was to be one team who was more likely to shut off mentally in extra time between England and Croatia, you would think that the fatigued Croatian side would be the one to do so. But they didn't. Stones fell asleep, and Mandzukic was the first to react to the ball rolling into the box. It's little details like that that are making the difference for this Croatian team. They've had to juice the absolute most out of this team in order to get where they are. With the emphasis being on team, because I believe that they are the most cohesive unit to have played at this World Cup. Cohesive, successful unit. And that's not to say that France doesn't boast a cohesive unit either, but they do benefit from the quality that they boast instead. At the beginning of the tournament, they looked like a collection of stars all mashed together on the pitch, which is in essence exactly what international football is for the most part. And yet, the quality in their ranks was enough to get them out of every situation. But just barely. In every single game, as France have only won one match by more than one goal in this tournament. And that was thanks to Muslereta's clanger, which doubled the French lead to 2-0. Now, you can look at this in two ways for Les Bleus. You could look at it in a positive light in that they are coasting, and they haven't been forced into their top gear yet due to their ability to control the game both with the ball and without it in defense. In fact, France have only been trailing behind their opponents for 9 minutes throughout their 6 matches in this tournament. That's an incredibly short amount of time to be trailing. And when they needed a goal, they got it. However, it could also be seen as a bit of complacency, as they're just doing the bare minimum against each of their opponents, and complacency can be your downfall. We've seen it in so many occasions. So, it's the team that has been coasting with clinicality against the team that has fought for every single inch in this World Cup. I spoke earlier about how France has such a talented side, but I don't want that to seem as if I think the Croatians are slouches, because they obviously aren't. Where France have Mbappe and sometimes Griezmann playing wide, Croatia has Perisic and Rebic providing the threat down the flanks. In the midfield, Pogba, Matuidi, and Kante have really come into their own as the tournament has worn on, while Croatia has found the most joy with a midfield trio of Rakitic, Brozovic, and Modric. I do really think it's important that Brozovic plays in order to push Modric further upfield so that he can work his magic and doesn't get caught too deep. Then, the defense is a solid matchup, though I would personally take the French back line if I could only choose one. Varane has proven in this tournament that he's one of the best center backs in the world, as Umtiti has done the same. Despite playing out of position, he operates as a center back for Stuttgart, Pavard has been a rock, and Lucas Hernandez, while he may be the weak link for me, has had a pretty great tournament. That's not to say the backline of Vrsaljko, Lovren, Vida, and Strinic is bad, however. Though I do worry some for Croatia with the matchup of Strinic and Mbappe. I feel like Vida is going to be dragged out of position to cover for Strinic on a few occasions, and that could be where the French really hurt the Croatians. As for the Croatians, they'll need to be at their absolute most clinical, because I'm not sure how many chances they will be afforded against Les Bleus. They can take solace in the fact that Argentina managed to put 3 past France in the round of 16, and given that Croatia easily defeated an out-of-sorts Argentina, then that will perhaps give them some confidence. But football isn't simply a Team X beat Team Y, so therefore Team X will beat Team Z type of formula. We all know that. There are so many intangibles. But it is something to take some confidence from. And France have grown into their defense as the tournament has gone on, shutting out both Uruguay and Belgium, thanks in no small part to the form of Hugo Lloris, which, by the way, that's the one position I didn't mention earlier, but I'd say that the 2 goalkeepers are relatively equal coming into this one, with Subasic perhaps being in the better form strictly based on the amount of action he has been getting. On the pitch, of course. I can only speak to what's happened on the pitch. So, you can see how difficult this final is to call, just as this tournament in general has been an absolute headache. If we look to the history between the two teams, the last time they played each other was in the 1998 World Cup semi-final, in which Lilian Thuram scored a brace to give the hosts a 2-1 win and take them into their first ever World Cup final. All this despite Slavan Bilic play acting and getting Laurent Blanc sent off, which was his first ever sending off of his career and the only red card of his career, by the way. Just a little tidbit there for ya. They also met during the Euro 2004 group stage, with that match ending 2-2. So, historically, in major tournaments, they've been pretty close, and I can't see it being any different on this occasion. France went through Argentina, Uruguay, and Belgium to get to the final, while Croatia battled Denmark, Russia, and England. I don't know how much fatigue will play its part in this one, and hopefully it doesn't, as Croatia has had 1 day less to rest for the final. My girlfriend and I did a nice road trip from Zagreb down to Dubrovnik a couple years ago, and for that reason and for the underdog story, my heart will be going for Croatia in this one. This has nothing to do with football, by the way, so ignore it if you want to. It's just a little aside from me. But it would be amazing to see such a beautiful country with a tiny population of 4.4 million citizens experience the joy of being world champions after the extremely rough years that many of its players went through during the violent breakup of Yugoslavia. Seeing the aftermath with my own eyes and hearing stories from the people was shocking and inspiring, as they live with the memories of that horror but continue to fight and live a positive life despite that. Again, that's neither here nor there when it comes to football, but just a personal aside. And it would be great to see a new World Cup champion, a first-time World Cup winner. However, while my heart is with Croatia, I would never begrudge the French if they were to win the World Cup. They've proven themselves in this tournament without hitting their top gear, and after the absolute heartache that they must have endured from Euro 2016, losing it on their own soil, they're deserving of some joy. Basically, whoever wins this thing, I'm totally okay with. So, who do you guys think will win this thing? Who do you want to win, and who will win it according to your head? Maybe they're one and the same. But regardless, I thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then do drop a like and let us know. And if you're finding us for the first time, then consider subscribing for more football content all the time. Player bios, explainers, news roundups, transfer videos will be coming out soon, etc, etc. My name's Adrian, and I'll hopefully see you during the final watch along of this tournament, but if I don't, enjoy the final and take care. Peace.